though I thought I'd say I'm going to go to my Exis book, or it could be called what I called Exegesis, or New Exegesis, which is a word meaning something like going beyond isness, or as isness. In other words, originally the exegesis word came to me as a planet name, Exis, which would like exiting the creation consciousness or going beyond it. So this was part 5 or 6. I guess 6 is 6 out of 6, but it's not actually a complete ending. However, the story is this. I'm going to call it up. I got to switch over to where I've written it down. So the Destiny is the name of the book. Generally, it's on Amazon as a Kindle reader, and it has 6 parts, which include the Sage, the Exis, Light, DUANU, which is something a little bit off the target of this particular title, but in any case, and then Destiny, and I'm going through these. The Exis was the experience of aliens on a planet of contemplatives. That is, the natural society was contemplative in many cases, meditational, if you need the word. And excuse me, okay, the special spaceship empowering Rigolpi gemstones were being mined on the planet's North Pole. Now, the hero, this is a blind boy youth, or teenager age, is among his compatriots who combat the Litek Empire threat and release a Big Bang-like wave of light, which heads across the universe, a galaxy, and Earth, while on another dimension as well, a prince meets his princess bride and then have a daughter as they grow up, and they each have experience which correlates with their own realization and saving grace during the 9/11 World Trade Center experience, or time frame, and opening doorways to the real side, or recognizing these open doorways, if you will. That's more like it. This story is therefore had these 2 parts, but I read the part about the princess, I think, on another Skype. So I'm just going to jump to the Exis planetary, which is one of the planets, stars system in our local galaxy, closer to our outer edge position, where our world is supposedly, and our star system is supposedly in relation to the galactic center. So with that as the map, we're talking about a multi-dimensional experience. It helps to have that awareness of the multi-dimensional viewpoint and the non-literal specific, even though this story has, very much a literal framework. It's really part of a 9-story creation, if you will, or creation myth. One of the things I've been learning with the new guides is about being aware in a state of kind of anticipation of things. That is, to follow the intuitional senses of things that, of anything, even in the private personal life, but also the global world and the even what's happening in the universal real side, we'll say, as terms of these 3 levels that we are all experiencing or part of. And it's a quite simplistic way of talking about it, but it's really not a simple thing in some ways for the most people to have any real sense of. And so it's really important to put that precursor there. Nonetheless, that's how that is. I'm going to digress here from the story because I'm just getting, using intuitional senses, and I had a dream with the president-elect coming to my house. This was on the night after the election went through, and he is at the door, and he got himself locked, or he was locked into the front door, which we have a glass door on the outside and the closed door inside. And so he was basically, it was like he was caught in the glass that made it visible for me to see. And I just opened the door, and there he was. So he was stuck in the door with his erection penis. And the top part of him was stuck in probably his hands, but I couldn't actually say. It could have been more like his upper, lungs, heart, or throat, or, whatever, maybe even his face. I didn't have that visual to say, but he said that he basically was sharing without words that he was caught in this and couldn't get out. And meaning, I think clearly that he's caught in this situation of consciousness, and he's unable to eradicate himself from it. Although I think in the dream vision, he did walk away or back away at some point. But that was an interesting coordination because these things that are going on are almost like automatic. And if someone was supposed to see this in the big picture, they would identify, well, in the universal picture, you see all the planets, the stars, the suns, and galaxies. Everything is in a fixed pattern path, unbreakable. That is, I guess we'd have to say it's all tied together by some form of gravity or gravitational universal forces. And there's no change in this pattern. It is true also, in some ways, we could say in humanity and our own experiences, it's almost a fixed past, present, future linked. And I don't mean to say that there isn't free will, and I'm not discussing that topic, but this generally of an automatism, robotic, conditional. And so I'm going to go to this next thing that I'm experiencing or aware of, that is a chip that I think has been implanted, we'll call it a chip, whatever, in the consciousness or the inner chemical elemental body. And it's a visual receiver. of the electromagnetic radiation wave pattern, interference pattern, that has been set up around the world or the planet. And that's my impression of it. And so I've seen this visually when I've closed my eyes, and it would be like watching TV. And I've seen various, images that are just like watching TV. And I know that that is not, let's say, the natural mechanism of what's supposed to be there. I think that's the implanted mechanism as a receiver. And so everyone is getting these receptions from the orientated control, that being whichever it might be, an alienation or a electromagnetic field creation that relates to the satellite systems and being broadcast. So it would be like saying we really don't need to even watch TV. We could go into our own receiver and watch all the television, whatever, if we had the ability to do that controlled observation, or acknowledge that we have that. And that occurs to me as well, for so many reasons, this is a highly dangerous and challenging operative AI integrated domination or dominion, if you will. So in my Exus book, this is a very important part of the story of who and whatever may be attributed to this system creation. A set of satellites. I had imaged 5 around the globe in a network, and the network is also being utilized, or I can't say in operational creation, but it has something to do with the man whose initials are EM, one of the world's wealthiest men, who was definitely involved with the election process and the creation of the result. And because EM is electromagnetic and EMR is electromagnetic radiation, it hardly seems accidental that this is part of this simulator activation, which is increasing, and or let's say, what's the word? It's becoming real in that sense of a created reality, more so, more physically directed or direct. And so again, that makes it harder and harder for any conscious or aware being to move beyond that, or get beyond it, or escape its influence or contact. Even though, so this is, let's say I'm jump to, that's what's happening myself, that I experience this sometimes by becoming tired, picking up the electromagnetic field, can cause a headache, or I'll call it a mild nausea or something like that, and vertigo type thing. And so if we identify that, instead of feeling, oh, I'm getting tired, instead of, okay, I'm aware of this interference wave pattern, electromagnetics, or whatever the illness is or area. It's not necessarily just the electromagnetics, of course. So It's also the chemical, and it relates to all the pollutions and such that we just were sharing on. So, okay, that leads me up, I think, clearly to this. This a very short read of the actual book, which I don't have it available to read. It's written about 20 years ago or more. There's another one to share about very quickly, is that a lot of times when you can't find something that you're looking for or wanting to do, it may mean that something else first has to be done, or by doing something else, looking for in a different area. Let's say if you lost something and you're trying to find it, sometimes by doing something else, you'll end up finding that thing that you're looking for. And usually, in my case, at the end of the looking for that original object, and this includes the subjects that we might be thinking of. The same thing with the mind. It's looking through to try and identify something, and it can't get the memory back, as an example. And then, so you go and do something else, or you think on something that came up. And so that's what I just did, and it brought me, so I was looking for the exit story, but I didn't find it, but I get this other intuitional to share. And the next thing that came along at the end of it was, well, here's the exit story. I'll copy it over here too, but, it's a story on the planet Exus. The blind boy Elias is a youth on his vision quest, and he goes out into the desert. And there he discovers that he can do this journey even though he's blind, and also that he's opened up his real awareness to a greater extent than ever, that he had never seen, I mean, dramatically, and that which he sees as his inner vision or real sight. And so when he returns to his family or tribe zone on the planet of the contemplatives, he joins the people who are of this family, and where his part on the planet, which is in the center of Exus. But in the North Pole is the great mountain, which has the Regolpi stones, which are to be used as a vehicle of space travel. And this is very similar idea to what was used in the movie Dune, and this book Dune by Frank Herbert, a great book, by the way. And he uses quotes in his book in the beginning of each chapter, and then the rest of the story of that part follows. And I did that with this book, Destiny. So in this case, Elias is then abducted by the aliens visiting the planet, seeking the Regolpi gemstones in the warm polar North Mountain and the great caverns within. Elias helps them, and then instead of releasing him, the Litex, as I call them, aliens, take him to the empirical center planet, something like Star Wars, where the Galactic Empire citizens are meeting and doing the governance of the galaxy. So while on this being abducted, there's a major meeting going on, and Elias meets up with the Han Solo type character and other rebels of the Star Wars type, if you will, who help him escape the Litex and the Empire events, and escapes the position he was put into. And they return as a band of rebels to the Exician planet, following the version of Elias, who sees the aliens are in the cold South Polar region, where they have a negative base of observation operation, observing the planet wide electromagnetics and the natural environment, and also building materials and spaceships as a space base for vehicles that act or develop like station docks and are being used by the Empire's agreement to go out to each planet in this entire galactic system as observers, but really as controlled operators, which is hidden and unseen or invisible to most of the population. And the rebels go into the thin ice fields and the cool inner space, and where the Liteks are at work, and there ensues a kind of battle, or a well, I won't go into that, but while ALLLISSS goes then back to the North Pole of Exus and the Regalpi deep mine, where there is his recognition that they're setting in motion, or he's part of setting in motion, a explosion, a great dimensional rift, whatever. I call it the gamma ray explosion that occurs on the planet. And while he had gone back to the center of Exus in communion there in their beautiful central island or island, as the great wave goes out across the universe and reaches towards the Earth planet. Now, in a way, it's like saying that this wave or ray that goes out is not destructive in the sense that we would think of something that if a gamma ray came into the planet Earth or the solar system, it would be extremely destructive. Nonetheless, it reaches out across the planet. It's more of a wave of consciousness, if you will. And this ends the part 6 as the final event of the six-part story, which had superseded in the Destiny novel, and that it brings to the Earth the real new wave. And I'm spelling Earth U-R-T-H or E-U-R-T-H as the multidimensional planetary space, and it illuminates the sky and the dimensions to everyone in something like a great rapture-like event. That is wrapped true, rapture, sound and light, and this gives all the opportunity to wake up or be the seers. And so it's very possible that an event like this has, in case actuality, already happened. And it's up to each of us to recognize, or we can recognize it if we wish. And not everyone, or not many, may actually recognize that it was anything more than a New Year's Eve light show. Which I had actually placed the event on Earth to be during a New Year's Eve that was a highly unusual character, to say the least. And so, Val, that went really well, I think, and thank you very much for letting me talk about it and share it.
Thank you, Peter. So in other words, you can't find the book, or you can't access it? You're just reviewing it? Your book?
I have a hard copy that's not perfect, and I have an Amazon Kindle Reader is supposed to have it, but I've never gone on because that's where I put it. And so I haven't been able to go on there. There's this, when people go on Amazon, you can click on read inside, and then you can actually read the text and the story, but I haven't been able to see that it actually had the entire work available. It seems to me that it's not all there, or I'm not able to access it. I don't know which, but that's the situation for that one. So it's okay. Um, uh, you know, uh, to make a kind of a movie or something about it is more my character, let's say, like I've done with my songs and songwriting. Um, or I'll write sometimes poems, and like the Star Rock legend is written like that, like a long poem. It's not that long, but it's 8 to 16 minutes long, depending on the version. And uh, so I instead of doing the pictures of the story and the characters, I did something else on the screen with the ideas of the new UU, actually, much more so in the presence rather than trying to talk about the story. So but that style of having writing on the screen at the same time with pictures, um, still shots mostly, so it's not a moving picture in the old-fashioned way. But that's a style that I had been using. I haven't been able to get to have the computer operation set up for me to be able to do stuff like that recently. So, in any case, thanks, Val, again.